I thought I knew what trust looked like. 3 years with Stephanie and I believed we had built something solid. She worked in marketing, I was a software engineer, and our lives fit together like pieces of a puzzle. We cooked dinner together on weeknights, watched movies on weekends, had inside jokes that made us laugh at the most random moments. When she told me about her 2-week trip to Costa Rica with college friends, I was genuinely happy for her. I helped her pack, drove her to the airport, kissed her goodbye. I had no idea that trip would change everything. The woman who came back was not the one I said goodbye to at the airport. Before I tell you how I discovered the truth and what I did about it, drop a comment and let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already, because what happened next taught me the most important lesson about self-respect I have ever learned. Trust me, you will want to hear how this ends. Let me take you back to where it all started. Meeting Stephanie had felt like finding the missing piece I did not know I was looking for. We met at a local art gallery opening 3 years ago. She was standing in front of an abstract painting, head tilted, genuinely engaged with the work. I made some comment about the color palette, and she turned to me with this bright smile that made me forget whatever intelligent thing I was trying to say. She was vibrant, always laughing, passionate about travel and new experiences. Her Instagram was filled with photos from places she had been, and she had this energy that made even grocery shopping feel like an adventure. I was different, more grounded maybe. I liked my routines, my predictable Saturday morning coffee runs, my organized workspace. But with Stephanie, those differences felt like balance. She pulled me out of my comfort zone, convinced me to try things I would have never done alone. I gave her stability, a place to land after her whirlwind adventures. We moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in Portland after a year together. It was small, but perfect for us. Our mornings had a rhythm. I would wake up first and make breakfast while she stumbled out of bed, hair messy, eyes barely open. She would make the coffee, the good kind from the French press, and we would sit at our tiny kitchen table talking about our days ahead. Evenings we watched cooking shows and debated which dishes looked better. Weekends meant hiking the trails outside the city or finding new restaurants to try. We had a small herb garden on our balcony that we tended together. Basil, rosemary, thyme. She would joke that we were becoming domestic, and I would say there was nothing wrong with that. There were signs that we were building towards something bigger. She talked about future travels, places she wanted us to see together. Japan in cherry blossom season. Iceland for the northern lights. 2 weeks before her Costa Rica trip, she made this elaborate pasta dish for dinner completely unprompted and told me it was for being so supportive of her dreams. I remember feeling this deep contentment that night, like everything was exactly where it should be. I thought we were solid. I thought we were building something real. When Stephanie first mentioned Costa Rica, it was about 4 months before the trip. Her college friends, people from her design program, had been planning it for months. 2 weeks exploring the Caribbean coast, hiking through rainforests, experiencing the pura vida lifestyle. The group was 4 people total, and she casually mentioned it included both guys and girls from her program. I asked about them, just making conversation, and she said they were just friends. People she had stayed in touch with over the years. I had no reason to question it. As the departure date approached, I helped her prepare. We made lists together, bought reef-safe sunscreen, checked and double-checked that she had everything. The night before she left, we ordered Thai food and watched a movie on the couch, her head on my shoulder. It felt normal, safe. The next morning, I drove her to the airport. I carried her suitcase to the drop-off area, kissed her, told her to have the best time and take tons of photos. She promised she would text every day. I watched her walk into the terminal, waved when she turned back one last time, and drove home feeling completely secure in us. The first week of her trip was exactly what I expected. She sent photos of pristine beaches, dense jungle canopies, plates of fresh ceviche. Her texts were enthusiastic, full of details about their adventures. She told me about a zipline tour through the rainforest, a boat ride to a secluded island, the best mango she had ever tasted from a roadside stand. I responded to everything, asked questions, told her how happy I was that she was having such an incredible experience. My days continued normally. Work, gym, meeting up with friends, taking care of our little balcony garden. I counted down the days until she would be home. Then, halfway through the second week, something shifted. Her texts became shorter, less frequent. When I asked about her day, I got one-line responses. Just hung out at the beach. Did some hiking. Nothing specific, nothing with the energy she had before. I noticed she was online on Instagram posting stories, but she would not respond to my messages for hours. I told myself she was tired, or the Wi-Fi was spotty, or she was just caught up in the experience. But there was this feeling in my gut that I could not shake. Something felt off. We had planned a video call for one evening, something we had scheduled before she left. I was looking forward to seeing her face, hearing her voice in real time. An hour before we were supposed to connect, she texted to cancel. "Sorry, the group wants to do this night hike thing." Her message felt rushed, almost dismissive. I replied saying I understood, asking when we could reschedule. She said she would let me know, but never did. When I finally got her on a brief call the next day, her voice sounded distant, distracted. I asked if everything was okay. She said, "Yeah, of course, just tired." She told me she loved me and that we would talk more tomorrow. But that more never came. I texted my best friend Marcus, a guy I had known since college. "Do I sound crazy, or does something feel weird?" He told me she was probably just having fun and I was overthinking it. I wanted to believe him. I tried to push the worry away, tell myself I was being paranoid. But the feeling would not leave. The day before she was scheduled to come home, she sent a short message, "Landing tomorrow at 6 p.m. Can you pick me up?" There were no emojis, no excitement, no "I cannot wait to see you." Just logistics. I responded immediately. "Of course. Cannot wait to see you." Her reply came an hour later. "Yeah, me too." 2 words that felt forced, obligatory. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself everything would make sense when she got home. I was wrong. I stood in the arrivals area at the airport holding a bouquet of wildflowers, her favorite kind. The kind with daisies and little purple blooms that she always said reminded her of summer. My stomach was tight with nerves, but I tried to push the anxiety down. Maybe I had been reading too much into her distance. Maybe she was just exhausted from traveling. Maybe everything would go back to normal the moment I saw her. I watched people stream through the automatic doors, families reuniting, business travelers hurrying past with roller bags. Then I saw her. She looked different. Her skin was tan, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, and she was wearing clothes I did not recognize. She pulled her suitcase behind her, scanning the crowd until her eyes landed on me. For a moment, she just stood there. Then she walked over, and instead of the usual enthusiastic hug and kiss, she gave me a quick peck on the cheek. "Hey." One word delivered with a tired smile that did not reach her eyes. I handed her the flowers. She took them with a quiet thanks and held them loosely at her side. The walk to the car was awkward. She did not ask how I had been, did not launch into stories about her trip. We loaded her suitcase into the trunk in silence. Once we were on the road, I tried to break the ice. "How was the trip? I missed you." She stared out the passenger window. "It was good. Really good." There was a long pause. Different than I expected. I glanced at her, trying to read her face. Different how? She did not look at me. Just, "I do not know. We will talk at home." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. The bouquet of flowers sat between us on the center console, untouched, and already starting to wilt in the warm car. The 15-minute drive felt like an hour. Every second of silence was another brick in the wall building between us. I tried to focus on the road, but my mind was racing. What did different mean? Why would not she look at me? The woman sitting next to me felt like a stranger. When we finally pulled into our apartment complex, she got out quickly, grabbing her suitcase before I could offer to help. I followed her up the stairs, my heart pounding. Inside, she dropped her suitcase by the door and went straight to the kitchen. She poured herself a glass of water and stood with her back to me, gripping the edge of the counter. I could not take it anymore. "Okay, what is going on? You have been distant since the second week and now you can barely look at me." She turned around slowly, her face conflicted. "I need to tell you something, but I do not know how." The words hung in the air, heavy and terrifying. "Just say it. Whatever it is, just tell me." She took a deep breath. "I met someone in Costa Rica." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. I felt the air leave my lungs. "What do you mean, you met someone?" She would not meet my eyes. "One of my friends brought his roommate along. I did not know he was coming. His name is Derek." She said the name softly, almost reverently, and it made my stomach turn. "He is 32, a freelance photographer. He came to shoot the landscapes. At first it was just friendly. We talked a lot. He gets the travel thing, the way I see the world. It just felt easy with him. I was trying to process what she was saying, trying to keep my voice steady. Okay, so you made a friend. I could see it in her face. She looked down at her hands. It is more than that, Antoine. We are in a situationship. A what? The word sounded absurd. She explained, her voice shaky. It means we are not officially dating, but there are feelings. There is a connection. We kissed. A few times. And we talked about seeing each other again. My mind went blank. Kissed. Connection. Seeing each other again. The woman I had loved for 3 years, the woman I had trusted completely, had kissed another man. I felt like the ground was opening up beneath me. My voice came out barely above a whisper. Was this while we were together? While you and I were still in a relationship? She did not answer. Stephanie. Were we together when this happened? She finally looked at me, and what she said next shattered everything. It is complicated, Antoine. 4 words. That is all it took. It is complicated. Not I am sorry. Not I made a terrible mistake. Just it is complicated. I felt something inside me snap. The sadness, the confusion, all of it crystallized into clarity. I stared at her, this person I had shared my life with, and I realized I did not recognize her anymore. The ache in my chest was still there, but underneath it was something else. Anger, resolve, self-respect. What is complicated about cheating? My voice was calm, colder than I had ever heard it. She flinched. I was not trying to hurt you. It just happened. Things do not just happen. You made choices. Every single moment, you made a choice. She tried again. You do not understand. Derek and I have this connection that I cannot explain. It is different. I cut her off. I do not want to hear about your connection with another man. Do you understand that I do not care about the connection? I care that you betrayed 3 years of trust, and now you are standing here trying to justify it. She started crying. I am confused about what I want. Maybe we can figure this out. I just need time to think. Time to think. She wanted me to wait while she figured out whether I was worth choosing. Whether 3 years of us was worth more than 2 weeks with someone else. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw someone I did not want to be with anymore. Not because I stopped loving her, but because I loved myself more. I walked out of the living room, leaving her standing there, tears streaming down her face. I went into the bedroom and stood in the middle of the space we had shared. Her clothes in the closet, her books on the nightstand, her skincare products lined up on the dresser. 3 years of a life built together. And now all of it felt like a lie. But for the first time in 2 weeks, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I opened the closet and pulled out 2 large suitcases, the ones we had used for trips together. I grabbed cardboard boxes from the storage closet in the hallway. Stephanie appeared in the doorway, her face pale. Antoine, what are you doing? I did not look at her. Packing. You are going to need your things. What? No, wait. Can we talk about this? I turned to face her, my voice steady. There is nothing to talk about. You said it is complicated. I am making it simple. I started with her clothes. I took each piece from the closet, folded it carefully, and placed it in the suitcase. Dresses she used to wear on date nights, jeans with paint stains from when we tried an art class together, the sweater I had given her for her birthday last year. Each item was a memory, but I did not let myself stop. She stood in the doorway, crying. Please do not do this. I kept folding. You did this. I moved to the dresser, packing her jewelry box, the perfume bottle that used to make the whole room smell like her. I found a photo on the nightstand, one of us at the coast, both of us laughing, arms around each other. I put it in the box without looking at it. In the bathroom, I cleared out her toothbrush, her skincare routine that took up half the counter, her shampoo and conditioner. Everything that said she lived here. Gone. I carried boxes into the living room. Her books from the coffee table. Her yoga mat from the corner. Her favorite mug, the one that said "But first coffee." The plants we had cared for together I left, but I packed her gardening tools. Every trace of her methodically removed. She followed me from room to room, her voice rising. This is insane. You are overreacting. We can work through this. I said I am confused, not that I do not love you. Where am I supposed to go? I did not answer. I kept packing. At one point I found a note she had written me tucked into a book on the shelf. Antoine, thank you for being my home. It was dated a year ago. I stood there reading it, feeling the ache spread through my chest. But then I remembered her words. It is complicated. I crumpled the note and threw it in the trash. I continued packing. 2 hours later, everything that belonged to her was packed. 2 suitcases, 3 boxes, all lined up by the front door. She was sitting on the couch, face in her hands, sobbing. I cannot believe you are doing this. I sat down across from her, exhausted but clear-headed. We have been together 3 years. That has to mean something. I leaned forward. It meant everything to me. Past tense. You went on a trip. You met someone. You kissed him. You developed feelings. You want to explore that. Fine. But you do not get to keep me as backup while you figure out your situationship. You do not get to have it both ways. What if I choose you? Her voice was desperate. I looked at her, and for a moment I almost wavered. But then I remembered what I deserved. You already did not. If you have to choose, I have already lost. I deserve someone who does not need to choose. I deserve someone who knows without question that I am enough. She tried one more time. This is my home too. The lease is in my name, Stephanie. I have paid the rent for the last 6 months because you were saving for travel. Remember, I will give you a week to find a place. But you are not sleeping here tonight. She stared at me, stunned. You are serious. Completely. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and called an Uber. While we waited, she packed an overnight bag from one of the suitcases. The silence was suffocating. When her phone buzzed with the notification that her ride was outside, she stood at the door. I am sorry. I stood several feet away, arms crossed. I am sure you are. But sorry does not fix this. She hesitated. What about Derek? My jaw tightened. I do not care about Derek. This is not about him. This is about you and what you did. It is about the fact that you thought I would just wait around while you figured out your feelings. I am worth more than that. She opened the door and the night air rushed in. I did not walk her out. I did not help with her bag. I just stood there as she left, and when the door clicked shut, I felt the weight of the apartment settle around me. I looked at the suitcases and boxes lined up by the door like monuments to a relationship that no longer existed. I poured myself a whiskey, sat on the couch, and exhaled. It hurt. It hurt like hell. But it was a clean hurt. Not the messy, complicated hurt she had tried to give me. For the first time in 2 weeks, I felt like I could breathe. 2 days later, Stephanie came back for her things. She texted first, asking what time would work. I told her noon. When she arrived, she had a friend with her, someone I did not recognize. They loaded the boxes and suitcases into a car without much conversation. She paused before leaving, standing in the doorway one last time. I really am sorry. I know. She left and I closed the door. That was the last time I saw her. The first week after she was gone was brutal. The apartment felt too big, too quiet. I would wake up and reach for her side of the bed only to remember. I threw myself into work, staying late at the office, taking on extra projects. My colleagues asked if I was okay. I said I was tired. At night, I would come home to an empty space that still smelled faintly of her perfume. I cooked dinner for one, ate in front of the television, scrolled through old photos on my phone, and then deleted them one by one. Marcus called regularly. Dude, I heard. I am sorry. Want to grab a drink? We met at our usual bar, and over beers I told him everything. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, I asked the question that had been haunting me. I did the right thing, right? He nodded. Absolutely. But doing the right thing can still hurt. He was right. It did hurt. But I did not regret it. A week after she left, Stephanie texted, "Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a long time. I typed responses and deleted them. Part of me wanted to hear what she had to say, wanted to know if she regretted it, if Derek had been worth it. But I knew better. Talking would only pull me back into her mess. I replied with 2 words. No, take care of yourself. It felt like closing a chapter. Painful, but necessary. The first month was about survival. I established new routines. Morning runs before work, something I had always wanted to do but never made time for. I joined a recreational basketball league, reconnecting with an old hobby from college. I started going to the gym regularly, not to cope, but because I actually enjoyed it. Slowly, the apartment started to feel like mine again. Not ours. Mine. I decided to redecorate. I painted an accent wall in the living room, a deep blue color I had always liked, but Stephanie had vetoed. I bought a new couch, one that was comfortable and fit my style. I hung up artwork that I had been storing in the closet. The space transformed. It was no longer haunted by memories of her. It was my place, reflecting my choices. That felt powerful. Through basketball, I met new people, a group of guys who played every Saturday morning and grabbed breakfast afterward. We talked about work, sports, life. Nothing deep, nothing heavy, just existing in the moment. I was not rushing into anything. I was just learning how to be myself again, separate from the identity I had built around being Stephanie's boyfriend. I also threw myself into my career in a new way. I took on a project I was genuinely passionate about, something I had been putting off. I worked late, but not to avoid going home. I worked late because I was excited about what I was building. My boss noticed the shift, complimented my work, and offered me a leadership role on an upcoming project. I realized I had been holding myself back, prioritizing the relationship over my own growth. That ended now. 2 months after Stephanie left, I made an appointment with a therapist. I had never done therapy before, but I wanted to understand why I had accepted less than I deserved. Why I had ignored the red flags, the times she had prioritized her needs over ours, the way I had always been the one to compromise. The sessions were hard. I had to confront uncomfortable truths about myself, about patterns I had fallen into. But slowly I started to see things more clearly. Supporting a partner did not mean ignoring your own needs. Love did not mean sacrificing your self-worth. There were still random moments of grief. I would see a couple hiking on a trail and remember our weekends in the mountains. I would hear a song she loved on the radio and feel a pang in my chest. But the pain was duller now, less sharp, and more importantly, I felt no regret about my decision. None. I did not miss her. I missed the idea of her, the version I had built in my head. But the real her, the one who said it is complicated, I did not want that back. I was at a coffee shop with Marcus, and she walked in with someone. Not Derek. Someone else. She saw me and froze. I looked up, made eye contact, gave a polite nod, and turned back to my conversation. There was no anger, no pain, just indifference. Marcus leaned in. That her, yeah. You okay? Yeah, actually. I am. I realized in that moment that the power she had held over me was gone. She had moved on. So had I. And I was genuinely fine with that. As she was leaving, she stopped by our table. Hi, Antoine. How are you? I looked up, calm. I am good. Really good. There was an awkward pause. She shifted her weight. I am glad. I gave a small smile. Take care, Stephanie. She left, and I did not watch her go. Marcus asked if I wanted to leave. I said no. This was my favorite coffee shop. I was not giving that up too. 6 months after everything ended, I was living my best life. I had new projects at work that excited me. I had a solid group of friends. I had hobbies and routines that were mine. I was stronger, clearer about what I wanted, more confident in my ability to set boundaries. I was not closed off to the idea of a relationship, but I was wiser now. I knew what red flags to watch for. I knew what I would and would not accept. And I knew without a doubt that I would never compromise my self-respect again. Looking back, I learned something crucial about self-respect. It is not about being cold or unforgiving. It is about knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Nothing about what happened was complicated. She cheated. She wanted me to wait while she figured out her feelings. I said no. The only complicated thing was her refusal to take accountability. And I refused to let her confusion become my burden. You can love someone and still walk away. You can mourn a relationship and still know ending it was right. Healing is not linear, but it is possible. Some people will try to make you doubt yourself when you set boundaries. Do not let them. That apartment with all her boxes by the door, best decision I ever made. Because the moment I packed her bags, I unpacked my self-respect. And that is something I am never losing again. If you are in a situation where someone is asking you to accept complicated, remember this: you deserve simple. You deserve clear. You deserve someone who chooses you without hesitation. And if they cannot give you that, pack the bags. You will thank yourself later. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to make a tough decision to protect your self-respect? Have you ever walked away from something that was hurting you even though it was hard? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and your experiences might help someone else going through the same thing. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, because I share real stories about real situations and I want you to be part of this community. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes we all need a reminder that we are worth more than being someone's backup plan. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gave you something to think about. Take care of yourself, set those boundaries, and remember that choosing yourself is never the wrong choice. Until next time.